Have you ever spent 5 hours prepping the perfect NPC with motives and goals and a family tree, only for your players to completely ignore them? And then the random barkeep you named Greg on the spot becomes the most beloved character in the whole campaign. It can feel a bit disappointing when that happens, yeah, but that's because you're looking at NPCs the wrong way. You see, my little lava gremlins, you don't need infinite types of NPCs. You don't need to build them all out like the player characters. There are 5 types of NPCs actually. And in this video, I'll show you how you can see them this way. You'll prep smarter, play smoother, and your NPCs will stop feeling flat. The way I visualize NPCs is in layers, like an onion. The deeper into the core you go, the more depth you need to add to them. So let's start with the outer core, background NPCs. These are the furthest zoom out on your storytelling lens. The crowd in the marketplace, the soldiers drilling in the courtyard, the villagers running from a dragon. Background NPCs don't get names, they don't get quirks, they don't even get dialogue, they exist purely to sell the scene. I want you to picture your favourite TV show. These are the extras who never speak. They add atmosphere. Think about The Witcher. When he goes back to town to confront Renfrey, these are the townsfolk that are throwing stuff at him. They don't need to use their voices to add to the story. They're there to set the scene. If Geralt rolled up and there was no one else there, just the people that he was fighting against, the scene would feel flat. It adds that extra layer to the scenes. It lets the audience know that Geralt's gone back to do the right thing, but the people don't even care. And that's all you need them for, just enough to remind the players that the world is breathing, especially when they're not watching it. A tavern feels fuller if laughter is in the corner, dice are being rolled on a table, or a drunk is being carried out by his mates. You don't need to waste time painting them in detail. Don't give every farmer scars and childhood traumas. They're not there to be interacted with. But if your player zooms in and starts talking to one, congratulations, the NPC just leveled up into the next category. And I like to call this one the randos, the bit parts. These are the one-scene wonders, the barkeep, the gate guard, the sailor with a limp who mutters, "Don't trust the sea." Randos are not pivotal. They're not meant to join the party, they're not steering the story, they're improv characters you pull out of a hat when the players decide to wander. But they deserve a bit more depth. Imagine your players walking into an apothecary, asking for healing potions, and the NPC just responds back like a robot. You need to give them a quirk, a couple of memorable lines, and that's all it takes. And sometimes when you do that, your players will latch onto them. They'll adopt the cabbage vendor, drag him into the spotlight and demand more. And when that happens, you have a choice. Either keep them as a joke, or you let them level up into a recurring role. That's what makes randos fun. They're like a sitcom character who was never supposed to matter, but the audience demands their return. Think about Jesse Pinkman, who was supposed to die in season 1 of Breaking Bad. He lived because people loved him. And don't forget, your players are the audience. Sometimes they'll demand more screen time from Greg the innkeeper than your carefully plotted noble. Because let's face it, there's nothing to say your characters ain't gonna hate them. You can spend hours working on a character you think they're gonna love and is gonna help them on their journey, for them to just turn around and say, "God, he's a dickhead. Where did Greg go? Can we not take him with us?" And you know what? That's fine. That's great. But until that moment, don't waste hours prepping them. Randos are layer 2 NPCs, and a surface description and a couple of memorable lines is all you need. And have you guessed the next category yet? No? It's your helpers and supporting cast. These are your guides, your mentors, your travelling companions, or NPCs that fill a party gap. They're not just there for laughs, they exist to support the players when the story would otherwise grind. Maybe the players need a ranger to get through the jungle, or maybe they need a healer to cover a missing role, or someone who knows the Thieves Guild. And I want to point out that there's nothing wrong with filling a party gap with an NPC temporarily. I've had it in a few games where the party doesn't have a healer anymore, and they just keep getting downed all the time. So there's nothing wrong with just adding in someone just to fill that gap until it gets sorted. And if you're worried about them taking the spotlight, you just have to give them a few quirks, a few limits. Make them nervous, give them a restriction. The guide knows the path, but panics in combat. The cleric can stabilise but not heal fully. The wizard is brilliant but cursed and can't use their best magic. And one thing that worked well at my table was I gave the NPC to the players, and I just let them control them. And I know that's not for everyone, but you might have one player who can handle 2 characters at the same time. The reason I did this was because I got a bit too invested with the NPC. I started wanting to be a player, part of the team, and then I started taking the spotlight away from them. But if I hand them the NPC, then they keep the spotlight. And to clarify, I did everything outside of combat with this NPC. I just let the players do the fighting, which seemed to work perfectly. It just made them feel a bit more comfortable, I think, that I wasn't taking over. And the other thing you can do is just have them part of a plot. So you have Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. They just are part of either Act 1 or a story quest. That way you're not lumbering around an NPC the whole time. And I usually find after a big arc, there's lingering actions that need to be taken care of. You might have saved a village and now need to rebuild. That NPC can stay there and help. The party's now leveled up. The player that couldn't make it for a few sessions has now come back. So now that NPC can aid the story off screen. So helpers being a layer 3 NPC means you go below surface and quirks. You go for a motive, enough to add spice, enough to reflect the themes, but not enough to outshine the party. They're there to make the players shine and enrich the story, not steal the stage. Now kids, we're getting in deep water. We're on to the pivotal NPCs. These are your kings, your queens, your spy masters, guild leaders, childhood friends who turn revolutionary. They're the load-bearing walls of your story. They don't tend to travel with the party, they don't join every fight, but when they show up, everything bends around them. If they die, the campaign shifts. If they betray the party, the story pivots. From a writer's perspective, these are your reoccurring cast members. Think Alfred in Batman, Spy Master Varys in Game of Thrones, Vesemir and Jaskier in The Witcher. Pivotals need depth, voice, motives, flaws, contradictions. Why are they helping? What do they want? What's the cost siding with them? These are the characters your players are going to push, they're going to test them, and you're going to want them to hold up under scrutiny. These are the characters that your players meet after a long quest, or the end of an arc. So whatever you've planned for your campaign, or for a specific quest, when you make these characters, think about what questions will the party have? What answers do they have? What do you want to give away? Do they want to be more mysterious? Are they going to lie? Are they going to tell them the truth? Are they going to help them on their journey? Or are they going to leave them with more questions than answers? These NPCs work perfect for foreshadowing. The players have waited a long time to see them, to meet them, to ask them questions. So setting that foundation early in the game, that when they finally meet, they'll start getting the answers that they need. It definitely helps to keep players invested in the story. And finally, the villains. Yes, they're NPCs too, and they deserve the most effort of all. Villains are more than pivotal. They're the opposition, the force that not just shapes the world, but the players themselves. They make the party ask, what kind of heroes are we? And villains don't always start as villains. They can be helpers who betray you, pivotals whose goals twist against you, even randos elevate into rivals. But once they step into that role, they need depth, 5 layers deep. Who are they? What do they want? How do they act? What lines they won't cross? And most importantly, why? Without a strong why, they're flat. I want to kill everyone because my family died. It's boring. Magneto works because he has a cause. Lucifer works because he thinks he's righteous. Your villain doesn't need to be sympathetic. They need to be intentional. And the easiest way I've found of doing this, make them as pivotals first, or lower down the layers. The reason I do this is because it helps me come up with their backstory, their reasoning, without thinking of them as a villain. And once you have all that, you can then ask the question, why are they a villain? What part of this backstory, of their character, of their choices, turned them? The amount of depth you can add doing it this way is huge. You can even start with someone who you just wanted as a pivotal, and then as the story progresses, you think, they're actually a villain. The motives I gave them, the way they interact with the players, or just other NPCs, they're not acting like a hero would, or someone who's good, or even neutral. And while others might call me out for this in the comments, I really don't see anything wrong with someone that you didn't plan to be the big bad, being the big bad. As a GM, we're trying to build this story and create this world that lives even when the players aren't in it. So why can't those characters grow for you as well? I'm forever changing my story. If your story sticks to one track, then you're railroading. So here's my layering rule, laid out clean for you. Backgrounds are layer 1, they're pure scenery, no lines, atmosphere only. Your randos are layer 2, they get surface level, a quirk, a few memorable lines. Helpers are layer 3, they have motives, why are they here, why do they care? Pivotals, they're layer 4, they get motives, contradictions, stakes, fully fleshed out, and your villains at layer 5. They get all the above plus a deep why. This is how I stopped wasting so much effort on NPCs that are in one scene, and how I built villains that I still get moaned at for now. A good moan. Think of it like a writer's toolkit for running better games. So next time you prep, don't drown yourself in lore for every villager. Think like a writer. If you find yourself getting a writer's block, then turn on your favourite TV show or movie and watch it with your GM eyes, and you'll be surprised how much inspiration you get. Until next time, stay spicy, adventurers.